Well, hey everybody. I just want to give you an update on Grace as well as the whole timeline. And so I'm going to do the timeline first, the update at the end of what's been going on with Grace because many of you have asked. So last December, Grace went in with some major pain in her right here in the center of her chest area down a little below. And they did some tests thinking it was the gallbladder. Really couldn't tell if it was the gallbladder based off of ultrasounds and other things. And so we left really with not having any clue what the attack was. And Grace had been having smaller attacks before that. So it really been kind of a frustrating time because it's really inconvenient along the way just constantly having these small attacks. And then we had this big one that was really painful. And so we came back in the spring. Grace had another major attack that caused us to take her into the hospital. Really a lot of pain this time around. And so as a result, they did we found out that they had found gallstones the first time around, but they had just found out after we had left and never informed us. And so the doctor's like, "Oh, they never informed you. That's not good." Um, and so they kind of put Grace on a lot of drugs. The pain just wouldn't stop, even with a lot of drugs. So eventually, she was kind of out of it. And they wanted to get her going towards surgery to get the gallbladder out. They rushed her upstairs. And the next morning, when she was awake and kind of conscious, she said, "No, no, 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 I don't want the gallbladder out yet. I want to see, is there any other option? Obviously, God made me with a gallbladder. Should I keep it?" So we stepped out of the hospital and started looking into natural treatments. We did natural cleansing. We did several of those. She still had a few minor attacks along the way, but seemed to be doing good, and we were definitely seeing results from the cleansed gallstones coming out. But Grace had tons of gallstones actually inside. We found out later on, hundreds probably. Um, and so then Grace had another major attack probably in June, put us in the hospital, and at that point we started to look into possibly doing two surgeries at one time, one being the gallbladder, and Grace had had some ovaries, a cyst on each ovary that she found out around the same time, and one was significantly large, 7 centimeters, that they wanted to for sure remove, possibly have to take the ovary, and the other one they would just get rid of the cyst, and we would keep the ovary. So we started going down the road of possibly trying to schedule those two and just deciding what are we going to do. And so we left the hospital looking into wanting to do that. And Grace did another cleanse, I believe. And then we went out to eat. She did tiramisu, just a little bit of the tiramisu. The tiramisu, almost immediately, her gallbladder kicked in. And intense, intense pain, probably the worst gallbladder attack she's had. This was in July. And I almost wasn't able to get her to the car. And so I rushed her to the hospital once we did get in the car, barely. And so that wasn't good. They gave her pain medication. She overcame it. We left the hospital. But a few days later, she just didn't, the pain never really stopped after that visit. And she started turning orange. And so what had happened is gallstones had been shoved up into her tubes and caused her liver to not be able to function correctly. And so her liver was backing up, causing her skin to then turn orange. And they had to go in. We took her back into the hospital. They shifted her to another hospital. They did a special procedure. They went in and took the stones out. And we left that procedure. After we left that procedure, said, "Oh, you're going to be feeling great now. We still are looking to get the surgeries done, align those. Let's get it done." But Grace still wasn't getting better after we left the hospital at that point. And so we found out that she had internal bleeding based off of several factors that finally put us back in the hospital. They found that out. They gave her a blood transfusion, and it had to do with an incision from the surgery that got the gallstones out of her tubes. And so they fixed that up, and they sent us home still looking to do the surgeries. And so the surgeries were like a month, month and a half out, according to being able to get the two doctors together. And then just this past Saturday, she had another major attack. And at 2 a.m. in the morning, we had medication now that could handle the major attacks, so we took the medication. But Grace's pain didn't subside, which usually it would with the gallstone. The gallbladder would stop trying to do its job, and the pain would subside. That didn't happen, and so we had a feeling that it was another situation with a gallstone. She passed one, or some stones got in her tubes again. She started to turn slightly orange, and so we took her back into the hospital. And so that's where she's at right now, is in the hospital. And it's looking good. They did another ultrasound on her cysts that are on her ovaries. And one of the cysts is completely gone, praise God. The other one that had been there for like 2.5 years, the larger one, which they said, it's very unlikely it's going to go away, has started to shrink as well, and there's fluid around it, meaning it's continuing to shrink. And so praise God on that. Tomorrow she's probably going to go in for her gallbladder surgery to get her gallbladder out, and that's kind of where we've landed at this point. And so yeah. So anyway, that's the update, and I'll try to keep them coming. Thanks, guys.